Welcome to another tutorial for using with Serif Craft Artist Professional, this time fun with filter effects. At first, in many cases, the effects that come with the software under the Effects tab on the right hand side here, these sort of effects, are plenty for what you might want to do to make your pages just a little different. However, as you become more adventurous, you might like to start experimenting with the filter effects. Filter effects are hidden away in Craft Artist. You have to right click on your selected item to get this box of tricks to appear. So select, right click, filter effects. That's one way. Another way to find it is when you have your effects tab open, down here beside the material depth there's a little FX box, and that brings it up as well. If you've got nothing selected, the box isn't available. So two ways to access the filter effects. Once you have found the filter effects though, you can have great fun and spend plenty of time lost in the creating of new effects that you can save and reuse whenever you want to. The filter effects generally look best when applied to fonts or text, frames or smaller items, but the background page for this cover page was made with a filter effect. So all you have to do is experiment and see how things turn out. I have to admit that the first time I opened the filter effects up, I pretty much promptly closed it down again. All those boxes and sections, there's no way I'd ever be able to learn how to do anything with all that. It looked far too complicated. But then I tried out a little beveling and embossing, as you do, and some of the 3D effects, and that seemed straightforward enough. One of the Daisy Trail members, Truly Tango, suggests that initially it's a good idea to take one of the Craft Artist effects and see how it has been made. This can help you to understand how they come together. She's made some lovely effects available to us in the past, and you can see some on her blog and in one of her frame tutorials. And just as an example of the kind of thing that you're looking at, we have these lovely effects here. I tend to think of Truly Tango as the effects queen. Following in Truly Tango's footsteps, we have Mazza1950 on Daisy Trail, and she has recently become addicted to playing with effects, and she's produced her own Craft Artist kit of them, which is called Crazy Effects. We have them here. And another Daisy Trailer has also come up with some lovely gemstone effects, and that's Samasara. So you can have great fun with the effects. So, if we follow Truly Tango's advice, let's have a look at one of the original effects that comes with Craft Artist and see what makes the effect it is. Say this one here. And then we are going to change from this effect to this effect, which is our own tweaked version. A word of warning, it's probably a good idea to jot things down on a notepad as you go along. The number of times I've created something I like, tweaked it a little bit further, and then thought, perhaps not after all, and then I can't remember the details of what I had when I liked it. So it's a good idea to jot things down as you're going along. Right, when making effects for general use, what I tend to do is to draw a quick shape, select it, make sure there's a colour fill on the quick shape. The colour fill is to the front here, because if there isn't anything there, the effects won't take. If you leave it transparent, nothing happens. So, Control copy, make a second one to play with. Then we move across to the effects tab here, and as you can see there's quite a few to choose from. For this purpose I've gone into edible, clicked on the orange. There's our lovely orange. I'm going to make that one orange as well, and we're going to use that one as our control, and this is the one we're going to play around with. So, with our shape selected, right click, filter effects, and here we have our box of tricks appearing. we can see that there are 6 boxes ticked here, 6 lots of information. So what we can do is just start at the top and work our way down. We're already in the drop shadow one. And what we can do now, these are the default for this particular effect, but we can change things around. We can play with the sliders. And see what effects you get, the angle that you can change, or you can put values into the boxes. Now, because I've already been through this a few times already, I have some values and I'm going to just type those into the box for speed. But you would just play around until you find something you like. The angles, as I say, you can move this way or you can type in a value. And I want to change the colour as well, and we'll make this orange. So you can see now you've got a shadow quite exaggerated for the purpose of what we're doing. Now if we go to outer glow, and we can do exactly the same thing. These are the default settings, and we can go in and we can alter them around. Again, you can use the sliders, or you can type in your values. And I'm going to change the colour here as well. And you've got all these various colours. You can go to the bottom, and if you want more colours you can work that way. But I know I'm going to use the deeper orange. So now we're going to move on to the 3D effects, and here we only have 2 sliders to move along in this particular case. Here they are independent of each other, but quite often they will be connected, and we'll move what you do to one will happen to the other. And when they're connected, this shows up as blue. When they're independent, it's clear. But you can see how by moving this it's having an effect upon the shape, and I know that for this one I wanted to have it both the same. And I had it down at 13.5. Fairly straightforward. But you can already see the difference now between what we have there and our original effect. Now we go into the 3D bump map, and it also starts to look a little bit more interesting, or is that a little bit more scary? Once again we have some sliders you can move around, the Z depth and the B depth. And just in case anyone thinks I'm getting technical here, I haven't the faintest idea what any of these things do, the hows or the whys. I just go in and have a mess about and see what comes up. When you have something you like, then you stick with it. Just experiment. And again, you can just move the sliders around, or you can type in the values. This is going to be more fun because trying to do this exactly the same each time is rather difficult, because these move around like slippery little eels. So if you bear with me for a moment while I just try and alter it a little, and just watch the selected item, what happens with it. No, I am not going to get this identical to the one shows on the PDF that I've done, but it's enough to give you an idea. And all you're doing really is just messing around. You're getting a nice texture. So that's not identical, but I'm happy with that. The next stage then is the 3D pattern map. Once again we have some more sliders to move around or to type in the amount you want. I'm going to make that 26. 24. 88 and 74. This was all come around from just sliding sliders up and down, and then we want to change the gradient as well. So you have all these different gradients there, different colours. I decided to go down into the red ones, and I chose this one. Checking the one I chose. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. And then we have the 3D lighting. Now, quite often I'll just leave this be, but I did have a play around with this one. So again, 56, 75, 62. I left that white. Changed the ambient to 41. And made that yellow. I added another light. I changed the angle, which can be done like that, or again you can type in the values. And I also changed the soften. So we've been in and changed all of the various aspects of that original effect. So we click OK, and you can see now that we've got quite a different effect from what we started with. I don't particularly like the glow and shadow effect I have around here, a bit too exaggerated. So all you have to do is either right click or down to FX, and we know that it's the drop shadow and the glow that we want to work with, so you just tweak away at the existing values you've got, just knock them back. So we knock this one back down to 3, took that down to 0 and that down to 0. You can see the glow just around the outside edge there. If we wanted to, we could make that a little bit more, or we can make it a little bit less. Always knock back the opacity a little bit more, a little bit less. And I'm going to OK that. I'm quite happy with that. So there's our new effect. There's our original, and this is what we've changed it to. Now, if you want to use this time and time again, we're going to need to keep it, so we have to save it. And that's quite simple to do. Go across to the Effects tab, and you need to highlight this global, the top one. Right click, and we're going to add a category. Now, you can call this category My Effects, or if you're downloading mine, you could call them Karen's Effects. I already have a My Effects, so I'm going to call this Tutorial Effects. Click OK, and hopefully now, when we look down, those are my effects that I've already had you see. I'm making quite a few. We carry on further down, we have Tutorial Effects. So we open that box, and that is open there. And what we need to do now is select the shape we want to save, right click, and it comes up as Add to Effects. click on that, give it a name, let's call it Orange Tweak. You save it and it arrives here in your effects, ready to be used anytime you want to. You can test it out if you like. Let's bring in another shape. And we can add that. Don't worry if that happens. I don't quite know why it does, but if you just go from side to side, it disappears. And it's perfectly okay. And you can now see that that effect has been applied to this. So, having got to that stage, you can be pleased with yourself that you now have your own personal effect. Now these effects can look different depending upon the original colour of your object. So if we look at these here, there's our original. This is how it looks on a white circle. If I take the effect off, there's your white circle, put the effect on. Take the effect off, we have a pale yellow circle here, put the effect on. Black circle here, we apply the effect, you get a sort of nice sparkle to it. So you can see that's that one effect, depending upon the base colour that you've applied it to, and you get some really nice effects. So playing around with the craft artist effects can give you many variations on a theme, and if you use the metallic effects as a base, that can be really interesting, as they usually include reflection maps which you can also change about. But I haven't really got anything like that in this tutorial. And when you look at the different effects, you'll find that some have more, some have fewer components, but by tweaking them about, you can gain a little confidence from working with them. But then you come to the stage where you'd like to go solo and make your own effects from scratch. Which is what we've done here. Now I can't speak for others, but I've come to the conclusion that it's no good for me wanting to make up a particular effect that I have in mind. I just have a general idea of what I want, but I just have to go wherever the process takes me. I did come up with this effect for a frame that I made from scratch for a scrap page with a photo of our late cat Selene, and I thought it would be nice to see if I could come up with an effect that I could apply to the frame using the colours from Selene's coat as my starting point. And here was the inspiration. We had the lovely brown colours in her coat, and I think the frame there looked a suitable match. So, to do that, let's just pop that out of the way. Once again, apply a quick shape. The colour doesn't really matter because we're going to change the colour in any case in the colour fill tab. So we've got that there. Select our filter effects again, pop that to one side. I'm going to leave the drop shadow till last because that's more of a sort of final detail. And you have all of these boxes, which as you can see here are not filled in at all because we are starting from scratch. And really, all you do is just pop in and out and see what you come up with. But because I'm trying to replicate this one, I'm just going to go in and show you which ones I played with and what I did. So once again, we're just working our way through the various boxes and values. So if we start off with the colour fill, which is default to this blue, and I know that I wanted a brown for Selene's coat. So we started with the colour fill, and that's straightforward, quick and simple. If you want to change the colour again, you can just go in further. There are different browns that you can try. That's a nice one, we could stick with that. Or once more, you can go in for more colours. Plenty of options, plenty of choice. The next thing I went into is 3D effects, because I do like playing with those. Now as you can see here, they are connected, showing blue, but when I was playing around, and you can see how moving that has changed that, and does change things. Any more chocolate buttons? Looks like a Malteser. Alright, so we're going to disconnect them, and I know that I wanted 10.25 for this one, 11.25 for this one. And then we went into the 3D bump map. It's quite smooth at the moment. And we can play around again with our sliders. You can put in your, so we had that one, that went up to 316. You can see beginning to get a mottled effect there. Bear with me again while I have a play around with you can see how it's changing everything. Again, it's not 100% the same. It's always going to be different when you try messing around with this. But you can see we're adding a bit of texture now to our chocolate biscuit. We then go into the 3D bump map function. We go into the noise drop down, and one of my favourites that I like to use is assign some apps. You see immediately that puts a lovely texture on there. Once again, you can play around with your sliders or your values. Filling things in, messing around. You can slide, you see if you slide up, it alters things. If you slide down, it alters things. Okay. Then we go into the 3D bump map advanced and play around with yet more interesting name things, wavelength, lacunarity rather. I'm just going to change things around again. So, no idea what these things mean. Just know that when you play with them, you get some really nice things coming up. We then go to add a 3D pattern map, and we've now turned red. I really want it to be brown in colour. These sliders do slide round a little bit sometimes, and I know that the one I used was this one here. You can see that's changed. I leave these as they are, I'm quite happy to do that. But now we're going to the function again. More things to play around with. You can play around with the noise if you want to, but I left that this time. And once again we're changing sliders up or down. So as you watch, it's always changing. And then we go into advanced. You can see we're just going deeper and deeper in. We're just playing around again, just to get something that you like the look of. There we go. We then go into the 2D pattern map. I left this all pretty much the way it was quite happy with that. Click on the pattern, and that gives you all these different pattern maps that you can play with. And I know the one I chose, again just trial and error, was this one here. OK that. We have our 3D lighting, which this time I decided to just leave as it was. I was quite happy with how it turned out. There's our basic, and then last but not least I decided to add a little bit of a drop shadow effect to it, and I pretty much left those as they are and just chose to alter the distance. We hit OK now. There is our new effect, which actually is almost identical to that one. It's not bad. So there we have it. There is an effect, a unique effect, at least until you viewers of this tutorial have a go at it. And I decided I just wanted to make a frame from it. So to make a simple frame, back into shapes, on the square, and if we go down into the transform, I had it 6 inches by 5 inches. Then we'll select another shape. A different colour so we can see what we're doing, and we'll just make that one 5.5 inches, 4.5 inches, select that. We've got that selected, shift, select the bottom one, comes up as group. I'm not going to group it, I'm just going to align items up here, and I'm just going to centre them. That's nice and centred. Leaving them still together like that, I'm going to go up to arrange, join, subtract, and that gives me my frame. Now we want to get this effect onto this frame, so we need to save this effect over here. So we do exactly the same way as we did before. Our effects box where we want to save it is open. We right click on our new effect, add to effects, give it a name, Selene Steampunk, OK it, and that's appeared here. If we highlight our frame, we now have the effect. Pop this frame into our frames tab. Bring it back out. Hopefully, I don't have any photos of Selene, but I do have one here, and there you have it. We now have that one. We now have a nice working frame, very similar, not quite the same, but very similar to the one we had there. That doesn't matter of interest. We'll copy. Wait for it to wander through, to paste, to compare. Oops. Not bad going, and you can see how this mama cat looks very similar in facial features to our sweet Selene. So there you have it. Your own unique effects. And of course these are available now for you to use whenever you like. When you close down, they'll be saved there ready for you. Now, while I was doing this tutorial and putting it together, I came up with this scrapbook page of 16 effects I've made. The ones used on the cover page, text that you saw there. There's the orange tweak one, Cellini Steampunk 1, and this is another one when I was playing around, which there are a couple of, it goes to show if you, well, how about this as a little test? Can anybody tell me what the difference is between this one and this one? You can always put the answer in the comments box on the blog post. This set of filter effects will be available as a freebies for craft artists. I'll pop it on my blog freebies page and you'll be able to download it, and there will be additional pages with it that will contain the instructions for adding them to your effects tab. So I hope you enjoy playing with those. And just as an example, I wouldn't normally use so many different effects on one page, but you can see how applying the different effects to the frame, simple frame made here, and around the edge, they can be so different but quite pretty. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial. It's been a long one, I know, but there's a lot involved with playing with filter effects when you really get into it, and I wanted people to see that there's nothing to be afraid of, and that it is good fun. Just get in there and experiment. Spend an afternoon messing about with sliders and values and see what you come up with. I hope this has all made sense and that you find it useful and interesting. And if you do have any questions, please do get in touch either via the blog comments or contact me on Daisy Trail. You can find a PDF copy of this video and more examples of my work on my crafting blog, karenscraftingnook.blogspot.com or .co.uk, either will work. I hope you will pay a visit and perhaps leave a comment or even subscribe via RSS or email. Thank you very much for watching.